2020 has been a difficult year for us all, and the pandemic has been particularly hard on those who are incarcerated. Families and advocates have had to navigate unprecedented challenges in their own lives while worrying about their loved ones who are serving and out of reach. This year was marked by deep sadness in our community as COVID raged through jails and prisons. So far, more than 230,000 incarcerated individuals have tested positive for COVID, and more than 1,500 of those have died. We drew attention to this crisis through media pieces and by issuing policy recommendations that call on judges, prosecutors, governors, and parole board members to expedite the review and release of individuals who were children at the time of their crimes. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, our multi-pronged strategy to promote just and equitable treatment of children by the U.S. legal system continued to yield results. In some ways, these difficulties have made us feel closer than ever to each other and our broader community as we saw incredible momentum in the movement for Black lives and significant progress in our work. Here are the highlights.
For every prisoner eventually learns.
In 2020, we expanded into new media spaces while continuing our traditional communications work. Early in the year, we partnered with Google to create Project Witness, an immersive virtual reality or VR experience, where the audience is able to see what it's like for a child to be incarcerated in our system. In February, hundreds of people attended the launch event in New York City, and the VR video garnered more than 50,000 views on our YouTube site.
It didn't feel safe. It wasn't a place that a child should be.
In November, our co-executive director, Jody Kent-Levy, gave a TEDx talk on healing through her work in youth sentencing reform.
The fact that there are some children in this country who, frankly, are just not seen as children.
And directly impacted members of our staff offered their expertise across a variety of outlets and platforms.
Brief things about the agenda, and then we'll do a round of introductions.
For many years, our community assessment and engagement manager, Crystal Carpenter, advocated for reform in DC so that her brother and others who received extreme sentences as youth would have an opportunity for release. In May, she was finally able to see her hard work pay off when her brother, James Carpenter, finally came home. The CFSY celebrated a major win in Virginia in 2020, a state that has been notoriously resistant to reform. After years of grassroots advocacy led by the families of loved ones serving and others, Virginia passed HB 35 into law, granting parole eligibility after 20 years in prison to those who were sentenced as children. There are over 700 incarcerated people in Virginia who will be impacted by this bill, and the legislation also led to the dismissal of the Supreme Court case Mathena v. Malvo. We continued to grow our partnership with reform-oriented prosecutors through the release of a video with fair and just prosecution on confronting our nation's past to build racial justice, and supported them in a polling project that found that a majority of voters believe that children are uniquely equipped to grow and change and support an end to extreme sentences for youth. The CFSY's mission to offer relief to children sentenced to extreme terms has been realized as we've joyfully welcomed people home. As of December 2020, nearly 700 people who were sentenced as children to die in prison are now home, along with more than 50 individuals in DC who were released because of the Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act. To more fully support these individuals who are now free, we've grown our Community Prosperity Initiative and established more and deeper partnerships with the private and corporate sectors. We created events with a number of our corporate partners this year, including Verizon, Microsoft, Starbucks, and Amazon, as they responded to the resounding calls for racial justice across the country. Our staff members, including those who have been directly impacted by the criminal legal system, spent many hours speaking to those partners in virtual settings, and thanks to their leadership, we garnered increased support and new allies for our movement. The CFSY launched a video series in March that focused on both COVID relief for those impacted by the system and racial justice issues. The series featured a diverse cross-section of our partners and supporters, individuals from all political backgrounds, sectors, and walks of life, who are bound by the belief that children should be treated justly by the legal system. This year, we engaged this coalition not only in our video and media efforts, in state legislative efforts, and in corporate and legal settings, but also at the Supreme Court, where we had a leading role in developing and implementing a careful, targeted communication strategy in Jones v. Mississippi, a juvenile life without parole case that was argued in November. The CFSY prioritized the care of ourselves and our community as we managed an extended separation from each other during quarantine. We found moments of levity and doubled down on our commitment to elevating directly impacted voices. Our Incarcerated Children's Advocacy Network continued to grow and thrive by meeting virtually, and even created new spaces for connection and support, like our heart-to-heart group for women identified ICANN members. The CFSY hired 3 new directly impacted staff members in 2020, Catherine Jones, Angel Alejandro, and Tamala Allen, and promoted Abdullah Latif to Senior Strategic Advisor and Racial Equity Specialist. Longtime CFSY staff member and a visionary leader in our movement, Xavier McElrath Bay, was appointed co-executive director in October. Xavier is a brilliant thinker, storyteller, advocate, and reformer, and his personal experience with the system will inform our work and strategy going forward.
And I have so many people that I'm looking at, and actually a whole lifetime to just thank all of you.
As the pandemic continues into the new year, we are encouraged that in response to COVID in Maryland's jails and prisons, Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby recently created a release review process for people sentenced as children. This will save lives, and it is crucial that other elected officials follow suit. Heading into 2021, we will continue to support policy efforts centered on COVID relief in prisons across the country, and as always, continue our fight to end the extreme sentencing of children, to advocate alongside family members and survivors, and to support our community as they transition back home.